Happy Sunday morning, everybody, or afternoon, or evening, or wherever you are in the world. Maybe even it might be Monday morning. Who the hell knows? But anyway, welcome to another episode of the Behind the Fiends podcast. Today, I am joined by the rowdy, raunchy crew from DeathsParadeFilmFest.com, also the Grim and Bloody podcast. With me, I have Kevin Nicholson, horror news net writer. Al Omega, host of the Creature Feature Show. The mastermind behind all this, Anthony DeRune. Is that how you say your last name? DeRune. Founder of Death's Parade Film Fest. And we've got Joe Flynn, the crazy man, the wild man. Yes. How you guys doing?
Good.
Holding up.
Looking forward to this.
Doing well.
So is this maybe your all's first live stream?
No,
I've done one or two.
A couple of live screening events with running films with other filmmakers, and we've done a couple of those on YouTube. And yeah, very success. They love it.
Is this the first one that we've done outside of our own show?
Oh yeah, this is the first one when we're not producing our own stuff. So
as ourselves, yes.
Yeah.
It's a good old John here took that virginity today. Yeah.
I know, and you didn't even offer a loop. What's going on? Yeah.
Oh, let's face it, we didn't need any.
Simon, you can hear this.
So, Anthony, I got to ask you, what kind of beer do you have for this show?
This is a belching. I don't know if we can see it.
Yeah,
Belching Beaver, my favorite brand.
The queef, the king of queefs.
I've never really stayed around to see a beaver belch, but I'll take your word for it. That must be.
Have you tried the peanut butter milk stout before? That Belching Beaver makes? Tastes like Reese cups. I shit you not. It tastes just like Reese cups.
I kind of like my beer. It tastes like beer.
Anthony Benz, I'm focusing on you. What inspired you to bring this Justice League of Mayhem together?
Well, it actually started from my short film. I've done a couple short films before then. I was doing scripts, and one of the short films involved shooting inside of a kind of a throwback theater, like one of those old mom and pop ones, with like 4 and 6 screens. And I found a really cool one in San Jose, and the manager was nice enough to let me roll my crew in there for 4 days, and we shot all over the place. And it turned out that I just remained friends. And when I was delivering the finished copy of the DVD to him, and just kind of like a thank you, here's the finished production, here's you can watch it or do whatever you want with it. I said, you guys ever done film festivals here? Because at the time, as soon as I was finished, I was submitting the short out to festivals, and there was only really one horror-centric festival in the Bay Area, the Sacramento Horror Film Festival. There was others that had sections for horrors, right? But they would also cover drama, comedy, action. They weren't specializing in, 8 hours of just horror, which I was looking for. So I kind of broached the idea, what if we ran a festival here? I was kind of asking around, especially my writing mates at the Horror Writers Association, because a lot of them knew festival owners in New Orleans, Atlanta, and they said, it doesn't cost a lot. I mean, there's some, production fees as far as, renting the venue and equipment and all that. But you can pretty much do it if you have the gumption. So I broached the idea, and they ran festivals there before, and they were all for it. And I just opened up a Film Freeway page and put the word out and started building out my site. And Kevin and Joe both reached out to me one day and say, hey, I want to be part of that, whatever you need. And I brought them on. And these guys are horror legends in the Bay Area. They know everything. Every day they continue to astound me. And I just dropped a movie on just the other day. We did a retrospective on Evil Dead. And Al, just out of the blue, just had like 45 minutes of knowledge on it. I'm like, God damn. I just sprung it on the guys. Let's do a review. And yeah, so these guys amaze me. I'm the kid in the room. I bow down to their knowledge and expertise on the matter. You just call me the producer. I'll put the shows together. You know, these guys are working it. They know their stuff. But yeah, I'm happy to bring horror in the Bay Area. I'm happy that this is our 4th year coming up, and it's been exciting just keeping it going.
Yeah, but you're more than that, man. You had a spark of an idea and something that drew others to believe in, and look where you are now. You have a film festival, you have a website, you have a podcast. So you're not just a young guy in the room like I called you. You're the fucking mastermind. You brought all this together.
Yeah, well, you know, it's labor of love. I love horror. I love doing it, you know, and I just love putting together, sharing stuff, and just, you know, raising a platform for other independent filmmakers to come on and talk about their work, and they can share that with their followers. So that's what keeps us going.
I'm going to go ahead and let you know, Hawaii's virgin territory. If you ever want to do a horror film fest here, I would so be down for that and would promote it to the moon, because we don't have anything here. All we got is like a shitty Star Trek convention every once in a while, comic book convention, and a lot of anime conventions, but nothing that's horror, nothing at all.
That's it. I got to tell Mom we got to go do a film fest down in Hawaii. It works for
Everything
me.
is expensive as shit in Hawaii.
And
This
what's
is like
wrong with
$8 for McDonald's Big Mac.
and what's wrong with Star Trek conventions, man? You know, hey, I'm a Trekkie. What's wrong with that?
I'm a Trekkie too, but some of those actors have gotten a little curmudgeon-y in their old age.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we want to see George Takei one more time before he's 93. You know, when to say it, you know.
He's usually pretty cool, but
He is.
of course the Shat Man,
Oh yeah,
he's always dancing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
My normal co-host Luke had a legendary run-in that we have on one of our podcast episodes, and those that followed our show since the beginning know about it. He went to go use the restroom at the Honolulu Convention Center, and he was following behind Mr. Reed and Rainbow, Geordie LaForge himself, LeVar Burton, and LeVar got super shitty thinking Luke was trying to follow him into the bathroom, like he was going to get him in there and, I don't know, do something to him maybe. And he just turned around and goes, "Are you following me?" And of course, Luke, not thinking about the different characters this guy has played in his illustrious career, goes, "No, fuck you, Chicken George. I'm just trying to go in there and take a shit." And he goes, "Man, then I felt so racist because that was not his character in Roots."
Oh, like that's the problem.
I was like,
but if you
that
always had the
movie-
right character, that would have meant something.
I was like, Luke, just that movie in general is racist.
Yeah.
George.
I was like, maybe you could have called him Reading Rainbow asshole or Geordie dipshit or something, but you had to go straight to the fucking just Roots.
Yeah.
Well, stuff does happen at bathrooms. I mean, I was at a convention. I'm a big Stargate collector, and Christopher Judd, very handsome black man, went off to the bathroom, and the women congregated outside, cameras ready for him to come out, just in case his fly was open or something. So
It happened.
he'd had a lot of beer that day, so I'm sure that he was in there a lot. So that would make me nervous, I have to admit. But then you got to wonder what happens in that transporter room when no one's looking, you know. You get warp cord. Makes a young man nervous.
But Kevin, no, I have nothing against Star Trek. I grew up with the original series. I love the Next Generation. It's just some of those actors were less than nice.
It's understandable, you know. Trust me. You know, it's just like being on this podcast, you know, with us four. You never know what we're going to be doing or what movie we might be talking about or who our next guest is going to be.
Or if
And
some
it's
of us
like-
are going to wear pants.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
You know, you never
just don't
know.
That's why he says the neck
I
up.
enjoy it.
know.
You know, Mother and I like to go down to San Diego Comic-Con every year, and we're down on Coronado Island, and they have the big Casa del Sol hotel, beautiful hotel. Use it in Some Like It Hot. And she said, "Oh, I bet this is where all the stars stay for the convention." And I said, "No, you see that motor lodge across the street with that guy standing there between a couple of black Escalades? That's a PA. that's where they're all staying.
Oh,
And when you go on the convention circuit and you're staying in those cruddy little motor lodges and whatnot, Motel 6s, and you're away from the food you normally eat and your lovely warm bed, which as you get older gets more important, trust me, it can wear on you. So I always take it with a grain of salt, because you never know what they've had to put up to get there that day.
Yeah.
That's nice, Morgan.
I found guys at San Diego Comic-Con. I love it too. And I think I've been blessed that the guests that I was watching, like Bear McCreary stands out. The panel of Star Wars, Force Awakens, the Walking Dead panel. They generally love being in front of the fans. So while they're probably miss home and they're here because they're contractually obligated, when they're in that room with all those fans who are sitting there, and Al stepped away, but at SDCC, there's anytime in normal days, there's 40 different panels happening, right? Across 6 different buildings, right? There's hundreds of thousands of people there. And when they're all packed into one room to see you, I mean, that has to be a warm feeling, because they can be anywhere else. I mean, the schedule is a mile long. And, when they're all packed in, they're sitting there quietly, respectively, watching you, like we did Bear McCreary when he's talking about Godzilla, King of Monsters. He was going through the musical process, what he did. I mean, we're sitting there like kids, just watching an adult talk about their life, and they feed off that energy. They feed off our positive vibes, and we're feeding off theirs, because we can see maybe when they came on stage they weren't feeling it, they're a little cold, but after a while they're warming up, and especially when we're asking questions, they're genuine questions. It's a good feeling. So a lot of them do appreciate the fans. A lot of them will go up and down the lines at Comic-Con, thanking people for waiting all that time, because it's not easy getting in those halls. Some of the bigger ones, you will have to wait 6 to 8 hours, maybe a couple days, right, to get in the Hall H.
Hall H.
A lot of filmmakers will go down at night, just say, hey, thank you for waiting. I can't wait to, share what we've been working with. So I can't wait. I hope this year SDCC comes back, because I want to use my professional badge.
No.
Been doing a lot of work. I want to feel that energy again. I can't wait. That's my 1 week vacation.
Well, I got some exciting news for you, Anthony. If you head to Monster Palooza, you can meet our former guest, Dee Wallace.
Oh, she's going to be this year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
If only I could get a table.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are they?
And if anybody doesn't know who Dee Wallace is, then you need to stop watching this live stream right now.
Yeah.
Bow your head in shame for your epic failure.
You may. Hopefully, you saw her on our show. We interviewed her, and I managed to get a spit take out of her. I asked her about that TV show she was on. Way back when, 70s. Out there in the forest. Wild Boy and Bigfoot. She guessed on, and it was like the first thing she'd ever done, and she just fell apart. It's hilarious.
Well, gosh, she goes back to, I don't know if this is the first thing she's ever done, but she goes back to the streets of San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
Is where I saw
one of her
her
early pieces.
Yeah, and she was like a guest star, guest star number 3 or something like that on one of the episodes. And she started doing some of that before she even got into Hills of Eyes and things like that. She's marvelous. I would like, because one of the times I met her, and of course I interviewed her even before the show, but one of the times I met her at Monster Palooza, she's sitting right next to basically three tables. Her right next to her was Danny Pintaro, who plays her son in Cujo. And right next to them on the other side was Daniel Hugh Kelly, who plays the dad in Cujo. And I was like, I wanted to interview like all 3 together, because Cujo is one of my go-to films of the 80s. And the perspective that you would get from, the actress who plays the mom to the actor who plays the son, to the dad. It's like 3 different perspectives of the same film, and it's a lot of. But Danny is like guy's in his 40s now. A lot of people remember him for Who's the Boss, and so forth. A very funny show, but Danny is like being the ultimate flirt, talkative flirt. I'm talking with him, and I said to Dee, I says, was he always this flirtatious even as a 5-year-old on the set? And then he goes, Dee thinks I'm flirtatious. And she just rolled her eyes and said, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, the good old days of being a little kid and having Dee Wallace play your mom in a movie.
Yeah, that was God. Her, we said this a while back on one of the shows when we were talking about like what's your favorite scream queen of all time, and you usually gravitate towards the 80s and so forth. And some people will say Jamie Lee Curtis, and I'll say with respect, no, it's Dee Wallace. When you have Hills Have Eyes, you have The Howling, you have E.T., and you have Cujo. Try to tell me that Jamie Lee, matches, that stretch. Then you have other films like Critters and Popcorn and other stuff like that. I say she's.
Now, Kevin, can I ask you this?
Sure.
Not only was she probably in Hills Have Eyes, but was she in Piranha as well, that Joe Dante's earlier film? Okay, I didn't know if maybe she collaborated.
That was Heather Menzies, who's
Eric's wife, I believe.
Right, and that was Brad Dillman. The wonderful film, though. And that's a film that you watch and you say the star of the film really, for me, is John Sayles' script, which is pokes fun at every one of the horror film, the horror tropes.
People don't realize this, but Rob Bottin, that was his first special effects job, and I think he was like 17 or 18 at the time.
Damn young.
And then he had, let's see, was next for Rob. I'm thinking that was The Howling.
I think it was either The Thing or The Howling. It was one of those two.
Yeah.
It was there. It was close.
Yeah. But
the neck.
And I love Rob Bottin. That is he's one of the kings of special effects. But yeah,
trying to get into contact with him though, it's like trying to find a leprechaun, man, because when he's not working, he just drops off the face of the earth.
Right.
There are people who probably know how to get a hold of him by signaling the bad channel or
Well, those are the kind of people that you have to know, who to know, like a friend of a friend of a friend, that kind of
know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah. But the thing is, here's the thing I found out with those guys, with those type of hard to get guys, once you do get them, they're usually like, hell yeah, I'll do this. I'll do the show. They don't have a PR person. They don't have somebody who's running, running blocks, really to prevent them from getting on your show. They'll say, hey, I got no problem with it. I'm hard to get a hold of because I've been busy. I'm crazy, just crazy to schedule. So I don't have a problem with that. Rob would just be up to talk to somebody.
Yeah, and I've got Susan Lanier, who also played in Hills Have Eyes with Dee Wallace, and she's supposed to be on the show, but we haven't nailed down a date just yet because if she ever listens to this, hope she gets feeling better. She's been under the weather lately. And, so
it's all, good thoughts there, Susan. Get well.
Yes.
Feel better.
But just sweet, salt of the earth woman. Basically, I talked to her publicist, and we just kind of cold called her, and she just got on there, and we talked like I had known her my whole life, and I'm sitting there trying not to nerd out, like because Hills Have Eyes is like one of my top 5 favorite movies. And the reason I put it up there is because you didn't have to have so much of the gore factor for it to be disturbing. And that's kind of where I base a lot of my movies off of. If you can psychologically screw with me and make me think this movie is more brutal than it truly is, then you've hooked me. And that's just, I don't feel like you need buckets and buckets of blood to convey fear and dread in people.
That's what Alfred Hitchcock and Psycho proved that.
Yep.
How disturbed are people by the shower scene? And then you ask the second question, what exactly truly happens in the shower, scene? Because people's memories are, like they got buckets of blood and blood splatter, everywhere, this stuff. Nope. Just a little drain down the, a little bit going down the shower drain. That's it.
And the second most horrific thing that happened in that room was actually flush the toilet.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Hello.
I remember when she grabs the shower curtain too, and and that comes down. And it's all, everything, all the stories since come from people's imagination.
Yeah, what did Norman do with the body after the fact? Did he come out of his multiple personality state and see her laying there and like, oh, Mother, what did you do? I mean, because we don't know that.
Right.
I mean,
we don't see it.
Yeah, we have to do a retrospective on Psycho because the shower scene. I mean, taking a shower is your most vulnerable state to begin with, right? It's you're completely naked, you're exposed, right? You're out in the open, and it's really the only time that you're normally like that, other than the times when you're with your special other. This is the time when you're kind of washing yourself. So to get killed and exposed in that kind of manner. That is shocking. I couldn't imagine back then the audience watching it. I mean, nowadays we're watching and we're like, oh, damn, right? Can you imagine the audience reaction back then, watching it on the small screen? It's like, oh, God. It's something like that. And that was Hitchcock's. That's what he wanted to. That was his intentions. Like, I want the death to happen just like that in that manner. And it must have been horrifying for audiences. I think, if I remember correctly, people were walking out. They couldn't believe that a main character, someone of her stature, would get killed off that quickly in a movie.
20 minutes
that
in
doesn't,
or something like that.
If that doesn't set your expectations that this is not going to be the movie you're expecting it to be, I don't know what would be, because it would have been completely. I probably would have been so uncomfortable in my seat that I would have been those back then, one of the ones to walk out and say, Jesus Christ, I'm not ready for this, right? I wasn't prepared to watch something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Psychos had such a lasting impact, because of that scene and everything else that comes also before it and after it. So it was just my opinion, it's a work of art.
Yeah, that's what was so beautiful about it to me was they advertised Janet Leigh as the main character for this movie and then just took her out. And you as the audience, and it was kind of like the whole Drew Barrymore Scream, that's where Wes Craven took that from. Well, Al, Kevin, you might notice, Joe, even you, was that Drew's idea to do that, like Janet Leigh's Scream scene, to kind of just off herself at the first of that movie like that?
Yeah, no, it was probably a little of both, and plus, as I remember, Wes basically said, "Hey, this is an homage to Halloween. This is basically redoing Halloween in some little newer twig, motion."
But
I'd say it's more probably more Wes, because Wes does have the flair for old school Hollywood. He often pays tribute, and sometimes in little ways in his films. And so I think it was as much him as it was Drew in that, although Drew does come from an old Hollywood background as well.
She's like Hollywood royalty. I mean, the Barrymore family.
Right.
Yes.
And if you remember when we talked to Dee, she had nothing but high praise for Drew, because she plays Drew's mom in E.T. And she said that she kind of knew that Drew was going to become a star herself. Thought there was no doubt with that. But
the biggest thing is how she bounced back from her demons, because she could have really died back in the 80s as a teenager from all the drugs and just.
Yeah, it was a popular pastime back then.
Yeah,
lots of drugs and lots of alcohol and clubbing too late and hang out. She was in the company of probably in his 20s, South American model gentleman for a long time when she was still well underage. And as far as I know, nothing inappropriate happened, but nonetheless, it could have gone badly, so badly. And she's lucky that she was able to get out of that.
I mean, you look at Corey Haim. I think I read something like Corey Haim said that the first time he did a 8-ball of coke, he was like 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
And he did it supposedly with Charlie Sheen while they were doing Lucas. And it's like, holy crap, dude. I mean, jeez.
Well, you read the Corey Haim story. There is far too much damage that was done to that boy. The same with Corey Feldman. The same with a few others. But you really got the impression when Corey was shown. Gosh, was it the latter part of the 90s when he was featured on Dr. Drew? I think it was a Celebrity Rehab. You really got the impression that maybe he was finally getting his demons under control, and then an overdose. What happened?
Yeah, it's always spooky because it's like when we go to conventions, and you meet all these different celebrities, and you go like, boom, there's Corey Haim. He wasn't feeling too well at the time, but I remember seeing him at a Fangoria convention, and within like maybe less than a couple months later, he dies of the overdose, and it was just like, whoa,
And people that's ever met him said that he just loved everyone that remembered him, and
oh gosh, yeah.
Felt like, he may have had some kind of positive impact on him. There's no doubt in my mind if he hadn't went the route that he went, unfortunately, it's safe to say I think he would have been one of the most legendary male actors in the history of film because he was that good.
Right. Oh, he was. I love Silver Bullet. That is one of my favorite, horror films of the 80s, one of my favorite horrors of any decade. Watchers, big fan of that. Lost Boys.
Of course.
As that's a lot of fun. Favorite line in Lost Boys: the only thing wrong with Santa Carla is too many damn vampires.
Yeah.
But speaking of Lost Boys, I have always wanted to do this fan theory. Is there a possibility that Grandpa could have been a vampire hunter at some point in time, and that's why he lived such a secluded life?
Could be.
Yep. I wouldn't doubt that.
That could have been, a whole nother spinoff right there.
You could have done a prequel movie.
No one else in the city or in the town, at least that's connected with the family in the movie, even breathes the word of vampires and so forth. So for him to, at the end, and you think throughout the first 2/3 of the film that he is completely ignorant of what's going on. for him at the end to say, "There's just too many damn vampires," that tells you that he's had run-ins with them before.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they did a series, based on his character. That would have been fun.
And when you watch it,
sorry,
good.
Oh, I was going to say, when you watch the way he interacts with Jason Patrick at times, if you pay attention to his facial expressions, he looks at him kind of quizzical, like he knows something's wrong,
Right.
but he doesn't quite want to confront, him on it. But he just kind of okay, and I'll just play dumb. But I've got this truck out there with all these giant stakes on it, just ready to rock.
That's right.
Now, did you guys get the feeling that the Corey Haim character, not just the Frog Brothers, but the Corey Haim character was going to become a vampire hunter? Because he's pretty quick to, when he's dealing with his brother, turning. There's the one famous, scene where the brother said, Patrick's character says, let me in, let me in. And he's like, no, if I let you in, you're going to come in, you're going to come up and kill me. And it just occurred to me that he's pretty quick to realize that, that his brother's a vampire. I've got to stop him. I've got to, or to save him, I've got to take care of how to do it. And it just, you see too many times in horror films, kids reacting kind of stupidly in the face of it. And so I just thought that he was a guy they probably would have done a few more films based around his character.
I kind of took it as an Easter egg pointing at us, the Salem's Lot. That Salem's Lot.
Yes, it was. I believe it was just when he was Jason Patrick's character's like trying to go, come on, let me in. It reminds you of Salem's Lot, and it brings you back to that scene. Even though people who may have not seen Salem's Lot would go like, oh, or never really see horror films that much, would remember that. And so they'd be going, oh, that's kind of cool. That's a great shot. I like that angle.
See, I've always wanted to see something about David, because when the way David describes their little cave and everything, he seems to know an awful lot about this earthquake and everything that happened. I've always wondered, was he a victim of that earthquake and he was laying there dying, and maybe Max came in and promised him immortality? Because there's a part of me that all the other vampires in that brood are, teenagers, wild, want to party and all that. But David's more mature, more reserved, dark and menacing and evil as fuck. But he's more, I don't know. I guess maybe you all have more of a take on it than I do. It just seems like there's more there than what there's being led on. And I've watched convention interviews where even Keith Sutherland's like, yeah, there's more to David's backstory than we actually put out there.
Well, yeah, maybe we should ask G. Tom Mac. Oh, G. Tom Mac, please refer to us because I know G. Tom Mac has a musical of the Lost Boys that's going to be touring around.
Oh, cool.
Well, not only that, but I saw online that they're going to be doing, Sacramento is doing at the Colonial Theater, and I'm forgetting the date, but they're doing a retrospective on Lost Boys, and they're going to have, I know they're going to have Billy Wirth in attendance. I think they're going to have G. Tom Mac.
G. Tom Mac
as well. And it's, I want to say May.
Yeah,
that's something to look forward to. I may actually try to attend that myself.
Where's that going to be?
At the Colonial Theater.
Oh, the Colonial Theater. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
always.
And I want to say that it was I Love Horror events that Tim Meunier runs for Sacramento.
Horror Film Fest.
Yeah. And,
that's where they always hold their, after shows and or the film fest and stuff like that.
But I look at the Lost Boys not just the story of the teens, but I love how the Edward Herman character is preying on Diane Wiest, and she doesn't even know it. Basically, and you start to see when you first see the film. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! You don't realize that he's one of the vampires, but when you see it and follow in subsequent viewings, you start to see signs that were there that he's not who he says he is, and so forth. So you're like, damn, I should have known that this guy was a vampire, at this point. And I just liked how this movie is for young and old.
Talking about grandfather, being a vampire hunter. That is the plot they actually used in Ben 10, which is, for those who didn't watch it, a cartoon about a young boy that finds an alien artifact and gains alien superpowers and has to fight off various aliens. And at some point in his development, he's traveling with his grandfather in an RV, who is a retired plumber. And we eventually find out plumber is a code word for men in black. And so, of course, Grandpa's got all sorts of high-powered weaponry in the van that we only find out in the second or third or fourth season or something. So it's a plot line that, who knows, maybe this is what gave them the idea. Certainly, Grandpa went around in a Hawaiian shirt, so it looks a lot like the grandfather there in Lost Boys. And, maybe this is the nudge they need. We need to tell them, bring Grandpa back and let's start doing the Lost Boys grandfather, the early years.
That's right.
You can have that.
Be like, bring back this guy.
Show it, Joe.
Who is that? That's not me. I swear, that's Rob Zombie, actually.
Yeah. You can tell by the wife.
No, it's my double, I swear. Oh, especially the blonde. She's my stunt double.
Here, I thought she was your bodyguard.
That too. But hey, no, that actually, I had to do that because it's sort of like, talk about Edward Herman's character as Grandpa in the Lost Boys. No, with Rob Zombie's doing the monsters, it's like, okay, what's coming up next? So I'm looking forward to that. I want to see how well he kind of says, let's do this or that. We need a more rockin' version.
It looks like it has promise. It does. But
I haven't even. I mean, how close are they to finishing production on that? I haven't even seen what the cast is.
His wife is Zombie's wife is playing the part of Lily.
Mm-hmm.
That's a given. He's always going to cast her.
Who's playing Herman?
Oh,
you,
there you go.
Kevin. You're playing Herman.
Oh,
didn't you know? Didn't you get the notice?
I can play Grandpa.
Hey, there you go.
I can do Grandpa.
Nobody can replace Al Lewis but I think you'd be as close as if anyone can replace him.
Jeff Daniel Phillips is playing Herman and Daniel Roebuck as Grandpa.
Yeah.
I can almost see Daniel Roebuck, as that. Now he's another guy who does a lot of conventions and has a lot of fun with his audience, with his fans and so forth.
Yes.
We mean that in a nice way.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I mean, he was in Cave Girl, River's Edge, Dudes, Project X.
Yes.
The
dude.
Yeah, he's in a lot of films.
Bubba Hotep, he was the hearse driver in that.
Yay.
Yes.
And I got the hearse.
He's also in, I want to say he's also in The Fugitive and U.S. Marshals. And
yes, he is.
Supporting as part of Sam Gerard's team, one of the U.S. Marshals.
Yep.
He was also Big Lou in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was. A good pal. Good buddy. But yeah, you know, and that's the whole fun thing, you know, with anyone who's making films. You know, you never know, like, who they're going to cast, you know, and you just go, like, at first you go, like, I don't know if I see that, but Emily would look great as the Thing. All you got to do is just give him some hair.
Yep. Oh, wait.
There you go.
Do it.
You know, as I put it, it's like I was thinking, you know, what would be a good title for our show? Because it's sort of like we have Al, Anthony, and Kevin. All three guys are kind of bald, and I'm the only guy with hair, unless I decide to become the bald head member. You know,
Now I want to see. I want to see you in a mullet.
Don't do a joke. Keep all your hair as long as you can.
What?
I want to see you in a mullet.
Okay, Billy Ray Cyrus, no thank you. I'll tell my achy breaky heart to blow up into space.
I want to see you. I want to see you in the Brian Bosworth mullet. Remember that big
That's brutal
pile of thing that he had.
I meant
Instead of the Foz, we'll call you the Foz.
That's it.
Yes, I remember Stone Cold. Come on, I remember that movie.
I think you ought to shave it and get that Bam Bam Bigelow look with that flame job tattoo.
Here we go. We're going to WrestleMania 29 million. Oh, never mind. But no, that's the whole fun part. With us, as I said, the podcast is absolutely a blast, especially when we get to interview up and coming filmmakers and stuff like that. And it's like, as Kevin, when we last talked to you, we were telling you about what a great stream we did with Tom Jennings.
Yeah.
Doing the documentary. And that appeared on Disney, not Disney Plus, you know.
Discovery Plus.
Yeah, Discovery, you know, Plus. And, you know, Kevin, I, Anthony, Al, we're just going like, what? Really? Oh, this is fascinating. You got to tell us more. And we let him go.
Did we each have the feeling? Did we each have the feeling that, oh, fuck, we're in the big leagues now?
Yeah. What?
A little bit, you know. We've done shows on that we're premiering on Netflix. You know, we did The Empty Man. We did that one with the big buff guy, with the cute guy. What was the name of that one? The actor came on.
Big buff guy.
and
this from a straight man.
He was an alien. Spoiler alert.
Notice that this was not the gay man that was making that comment. This was the straight man.
That was the whole trailer. The whole trailer was like 5 minutes of him walking out of the water. What else do you want?
I'm innocent, Your Honor.
No. What Joe says is true. Is that we had you know, Tom Jennings was you know, was fun, but you know, his was like the biggest name going you know, going in. I think maybe with the exception of Alex Proyas or Dee Wallace that we had.
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of names.
But Tom was the one who you know, when we got invited to, you know, to do him by his PR person, they send these bios, you know, out. Tom is the award-winning, Peabody Award-winning, Emmy Award-winning, Taylor Award-winning, Oscar Award-winning, you know, producer and director, and you're thinking
Oscar Award. Wait a minute.
Well, no, not Oscar. No. But like
on stage, man. Hey, give us a shout out.
Yes, he won an Oscar for the documentary about our podcast.
Our followers were like quadruple overnight.
Yeah, but it was just, it's tremendous. You're thinking, oh my God, I'm not worthy. Not worthy. Oh my God, are we gonna do this? Are we gonna, like, you know, not hit the record button or things like that? But it was a fabulous show, and it's a fabulous subject that we was talking about, alien abductions. And so we got a refresher course in the Barney and Betty Hill situation and the Travis Walton, you know, situation. And But you read about Tom Jennings, you read about he's got like 40 years or so as a journalist and then as a filmmaker. Well, what was it? We were talking about, here's how varied he was. We were talking before the show. Here he is on the show about the alien abductions. But what we were talking about before the show was a documentary that he did on John Wilkes Booth and the whole Lincoln assassination. And I'm thinking we're talking for
He also did
20 minutes on that. Huh?
He also did the Challenger.
Yeah.
We were talking about these things. I'm thinking we could do an hour like sitting like The View, or a Good Morning America, talking to him about all this other stuff. And he's talking about, he's one of those guys that spends months doing research on it. And he was telling us stuff that we didn't know about the Lincoln assassination and about even about the Challenger, the Challenger disaster.
See, the Challenger is something I would like to know about because Michael Smith, who was the commander of that flight, was actually from my hometown of Beaufort, North Carolina. So,
well, it's funny you mentioned that because one of the things he brought up was that the teacher that went up, came from a small town, and they had a little radio station, and they said, "Gee, I wonder if they ever interviewed her." And he went to the radio station and asked them about it. And they're like, "We've been waiting for someone to come in and ask. We have all this material about her. We had a guy in the seats during the launch. We interviewed her, and no one had ever looked at this information before." So that's truly rare when something comes out like that.
He also mentioned
our small little airport back home is named after Michael Smith. I mean, he was a damn hero in my community. And then when that happened, man, my community I was only 9 at the time when it happened, but I still remember it was like every day after school we had to go out, and it was like just public mourning upon public mourning upon public mourning because, like you said, Michael Smith was like our golden child. He was the one that come out of our town that made it,
Yeah. And as we're mentioning, he also was saying they found these reels from NASA.
Yeah.
And they are like looking through them. Usually some people stop at like number 30, but they went to like number 40 or 41, 42. And what they discovered was that Krista McCullough was doing like her teaching and for her class, like if she was actually out in space, showing them this is what this would look like and stuff like that. And he said it always pays to look through all of the reels, everything. Because if you don't, you're gonna miss it and you go like, But yeah.
He was doing the research on we were talking about the Lincoln assassination, and I didn't realize that John Wilkes Booth was just part of it. That there was a group of people who Wilkes was staying with, and they were staying in this woman's place in town where Lincoln was going to be near the Ford's Theater, and there was this conspiracy that was absolutely well planned to overthrow the government, not just kill the president. And it was through circumstances they actually, we all know about Lincoln, about Booth getting shot and then escaping, and so forth. But it was through their investigation afterwards that they found this other group of people, and were involved in it. And they actually arrested more than just Wilkes Booth. But there's this whole, and you're thinking like, I didn't even know this. Yeah,
it was a Confederate conspiracy, right? It was like the Confederacy's last ditch to overthrow the Union.
Right.
And what it was that I know, like as we all know in history, Mary Surratt, who's gonna be hung,
Sure.
they basically told her son, hey, if you come in, because he went up to Canada,
Sure.
they go, if you turn yourself in, we'll let your mom live. We'll let her go.
Nope.
You'll take her place. But he never came.
Nope.
And so he let her hang.
Mm-hmm. So it's this whole thing, this whole thing that was, as Joe was saying, that's what he preached, was what Tom preached. It was just, you have all this voluminous research material, research every single bit of it.
Yeah. You just don't know what you're going to find.
Exactly.
Who's been sloppy?
And so, and what, two Peabody Awards and 2 Emmy Awards later, he's having a success. Now we're gonna hope to have him actually back on, because he's got 2 more documentaries, the shock docs. This time, one's on the actual case of The Exorcist, the 1949 incident involving the boy in Washington State.
Yeah, and get Tom back on and talk about this.
And they also did one on the Amityville. I'm curious because when we mentioned Amityville, and I mentioned George Lutz, and his response was very quick. His response was, "Oh, that George Lutz guy." So I want to find out.
I can't wait to do that. We gotta get a hold of Tom.
I think there's a question on there. I think we have a question.
Yeah, Morgan.
Hey, Morgan's been with us this whole time.
Hold on. We have a question from Morgan.
He says, have any of you interviewed someone and they said something that you couldn't air?
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
But
I've never cut out a question before.
Yeah, it's just like, there are some things.
There's always,
it's like.
Yeah. There are things I say we can't air.
No, I mean, we've known of some stuff where they've said something before the show, or
before,
or after the show, after the recording ends. Have you ever had to edit anything out, Anthony?
I have. I've had to scrap an entire episode before, but we talked about that when I was on your show, when we were off air and not recording. But
Anthony, I can say that what we do generally is we'll ask the filmmaker what they're going to be talking about. It's usually something that they're producing or something that is finished. Rarely will we get a filmmaker on that hasn't done anything. They're usually doing something. They just did something. They're working on something, so they can talk about something. If there's projects that they don't want to talk about, we'll kind of establish that. It makes for a smoother show, so we don't bring up an awkward question. I learned that, it's easier to kind of, it's easier to just kind of set expectations, like maybe some general topics. Hey, this is what we're going to talk about. If there's something that they don't want to talk about, they usually tell Kevin, because he handles like 99.99% of all our filmmakers coming on. So they'll usually tell Kevin what they're willing to talk or not talk about. And that works for us, because with horror, there's so much that you can talk about, right? You can talk about the industry. You can talk about old works. You can tease old works. We've teased a lot of future films. We've just shown trailers. We've also said we can't talk about, spoilers, but we'll bring you on. We'll talk about your experience on set. We'll talk about, what you did to put this together. David Black comes to mind. A lot of his work, he comes on. He talks about his new word movies, but we don't spoil anything. We're very sensitive to spoilers. We'll definitely respect those kind of things. But as far as airing stuff, by the time we're talking to someone and recording, we're usually pretty much on the same page. We've never had a question that we've brought up or they've brought up that we couldn't talk about. Maybe we've been lucky in that retrospect. It's probably, I think it's also because we've been doing this for a while. We kind of, if we're going to talk about, bring on a filmmaker that they're obviously moving through projects, then we'll probably kind of just like, hey, what do you want to talk about today? They're probably going to want to talk about something that they just finished or something that they're working on, and we kind of already know the mindset of
and
John,
kind of questions we ask. we've talked about this, before, even back in the beginning when we first started doing these shows. What we didn't want to get into, if a star or a performer or director who's coming on our show has a personal history.
Hey, Mandy.
Mandy?
Hey, Mandy.
That's my normal co-host. She couldn't make it today. She had some family obligations, but
Well, thanks for joining.
What I was going to say is we don't want this type of our show to get into the personal, stuff. We have somebody on who had a history of like, drug use. I don't think we've not really had that, but let's say if we were to have an actor on who has a history of drug use or incidents out with the law, our thing.
Unwanted.
Yeah.
Do not geolocate me.
Our thing is we talk about the movies. That's the that's the thing. I don't care. I'm not here to to be the gossip rag. I don't care about that stuff. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I'm not. That's why I tell people who when I go around, trying to network with people, actors and so forth, is to see if I can interview them, and they're always thinking, what's this guy, what's his real angle? And my thing is, look, I'm not here to talk about anything but your movies.
Yep.
Yeah,
your career.
Yeah, that's been our MO since day one. Is let's just provide a platform where filmmakers and creatives. You don't even have to be a filmmaker. Maybe you're just an illustrator. Maybe you're a musician. Right. Maybe you're a writer. We've had writers on. We've had documentary Tom Jennings.
Sure.
And while we try to stick with horror, we're I think bringing on Tom Jennings has really opened the door. I want to talk about. I seriously want to talk about the Exorcist in Amityville. I am beyond excited. I'm like, we gotta get him on because that's some real shit. I know we've kind of tried to delve into the paranormal.
Sure.
Like these guys have been trying to get me a Ouija board. Thank you for not.
I
I walked in this house with a Ouija board. I'm probably sleeping on the front steps.
I've got some friends I'm going to hook you all up with. They're actual paranormal investigators out of Pennsylvania. Derek and Dan, they run Iron City Paranormal. I'm going to hook you up with them, and they will share evidence with you. That go back and look at some of the live streams with them. And
right.
They shared some evidence with me that was like, holy fuck that. I would be burning that entire place down.
Now to answer your one more thing on answering your question, John, I will say, and Anthony can contribute to this, and Joe and Al can contribute. We had one time where we had a guest, and I won't name the name, but we had one time where we had a guest where we did some research beforehand on the type of guest. This was a filmmaker, and Anthony comes to us and says, "Are you sure we want to have this particular person on?"
Well, who's that?
I went to we're not naming names.
No names.
With this particular person, they went to the Facebook page and saw that this person was very political.
Oh,
and very much talking. And Anthony got us all together and said, we do not want to talk politics with this.
Yeah, we don't do politics.
Not a political show. So that's the only time that we ever had like a reservation, so to speak, about a particular guest. The guest did come on and we talked all about film, and it was great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But that was the one time where we were kind of like,
and see, a year and a half ago when I started doing this, I was very naive. I thought everybody had good intentions that would come on the show, and I wasn't live streaming at the time. Thank God. I was just recording it straight audio and putting it up. And I went out of my way because normally I don't record during the week because I work a regular job. And this person I made an exception for because I really did like their comic book, and they had a good story. It was great artwork, everything. And I went out of my way. I said, look, I normally don't do this, but for you, I'm going to do it. And I had them on my show, and I sat down and we got 30 minutes into it, and everything was a political rant. And I got to the point where it was like I just hit the, stop record. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Look, man," I was like, "I'm not Meet the Press or Fox and Friends or any of this other shit." I was like, "I'm just Behind the Fiends. I'm a movie podcast talking mainly about horror movies and horror comics and anything to do with that, nerd shit." I was like, "Your political views don't matter to me. None whatsoever." I said, "I don't care if you believe in God or
the devil
or fuck ever, and I don't care if you're left or right. I just want to talk about your comic book. And can we do that?" And he was like, yeah. And then I pushed record again. And then it went right back to it. And finally I just said, "Look, man, this ain't gonna work for either party. So instead of me wasting my time and wasting yours, let's just call it what it is and we'll let it go."
Call it a night.
And I took the high road on it because he sent me some nasty emails telling me I was one of those typical people that silences people like him that has something to say. And it's like, I'm not even going to respond.
What podcast for that? That's just, I'm surprised.
Yeah, you see, that's where, hey, if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, that's where you do your own podcast.
Podcast for that.
Yeah.
I just roll my eyes at that.
I just took the high road on it.
Scary stuff. We want to talk about the stuff that
I'm not surprised.
Dude, wrong podcast.
Right.
I just took the high road on it and I sent him a little response back that says, "Thank you for your time. I'm sorry it didn't work out." And I did not placate into any of his, trying to poke the bear and pick a fight, because it was like, nope, not doing that.
If this dude is listening on this, Rachel Maddow has a podcast.
No, and like I'll tell you, with all of our podcasts that we've done, all the people who we've had on have always been very down to earth and thankful for letting us talk about their projects, and stuff like that. And
I think that what we do is we actually take we actually do take the time to kind of know the guests that we're dealing with, whether it's looking at their Facebook page, whether it's looking at their websites or watching their work. And we kind of let them know before we record that this is what we're going to talk about. This is, in a sense, not what we're going to talk about, and so forth. So I think we're pretty good with that. We've also been a little lucky in not having the kind of person like although we did have one time, and again, I won't name a name, but we had one time where a person tried to take over the show. Remember that?
He turned out to be really, really good with us.
But
maybe
the first time around was not
first times actually kind of coming on the show, and the director in him came out a little bit, and we kind of steered him back in the right direction. And after that, it was wonderful. He just that was only once, but it just shows you that we'll go out and find independent filmmakers. Whoever reaches out to us, we'll make you feel welcome.
Yeah,
this is your platform, and we're going to boost you up. We're going to talk about your stuff, even if it's not good. We've had a lot of filmmakers come on. Their work is challenging, either something that was out of their hands, like a hurricane that hit their production, or maybe they didn't have the budget, or maybe this was their first time creating a film and they're still learning. We've had a lot of those. We'll talk up your strengths, but we're also honest. We'll talk about the stuff that we can see that maybe can be improved upon. We'll talk about, we see you did this really well, but it could have been maybe done this a little bit like this. Right. And they appreciate that because we're not tearing them down. We build them up. I mean, I think I can speak for everyone here. Yeah. We want to see all these filmmakers succeed at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Right? Even if this project failed, and if it didn't get the audience, maybe it wasn't selected for film festivals, maybe coming with us, showing this to their followers, or just learning that their next project, they can take what they learned, maybe they absorbed, they can put it to the next project. Because we've all been involved in projects in one way or another. Even Joe, he's been acting.
Yeah.
We can all lend some experience, and at the end of the day, we want to prop you up. We want you to become the best of you in the horror genre. And we always revisit. Tell us about your new works.
I think you know about comics more than as much as any of us here. Morgan's got a question.
Yes, I saw that.
Noticed in the last decade that comic artists have become extremely political.
It makes me wonder, did comic artists become more political, or did political people become more artistic?
I think
comics is a great way to get a story out there. I knew a young lady, and she had a boyfriend that was not particularly good at reading, and I suggested comic books because you've got pictures to help you along with the story, and comic books cover everything.
Yeah.
Unlike, whatever book you might be picking up. And because of that, I think a lot of people that have statements to make, political or otherwise, have gotten into comic books. I don't read them like I used to, sadly. I had to give it up when my habit was like $150 a month. But I can easily see people who have a message to get out can see comic books as a valid, and it is a very valid way to get these stories out.
Yeah.
And either have become artistic themselves, because it's easier now. There's software to help you for people who are not great artists like myself, or you can hire someone now to illustrate your story. But also you have to remember, I imagine, and I'm sort of guessing here, a lot of comic book people have been around the block a little bit. I mean, we talk about Dick Finger and all the stuff that went on there, and various others, and like Jack Kirby, and they've been very opinionated. They've had to be opinionated to get their stuff out there, and sometimes their opinion covers politics. So I can see definitely people who want to get a story out, a political story out, turning to comics more and more.
Well, let's be honest that the comic medium it's
dying.
Not at all. Not at all been the first medium to tell somebody's to tell a story of politics through entertainment.
Yes.
Television, movies have done that. Television most notably. I was looking at Gene Roddenberry. We were talking about Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry was kind of an early progenitor of you got a political. You want to talk politics. You want to talk about the Vietnam War. You want to make a statement. Let's do it in science fiction.
It was also dealing with racism as well.
Sure.
There's a Green Lantern from way back in the 60s where Green Lantern has been out in space, dealing with things, and he stops by Earth and solves something, and people gather around him. And he says, we understand that you've helped, the blue people that give you your power, and the red people out, in space and so forth. But when are you going to come back to Earth and help the brown people here, and the yellow people, and the red people that are here on Earth? And really, comic books have always been holding a mirror to reality. And because you can't always say what reality really is, people don't like that, you warp it.
I can give you
more interesting and entertaining ways, and it sticks sometimes better.
I can give you good examples for those that are not really familiar.
Like mine.
I've wrote some comic scripts. I am an art school dropout. I went for comic art. Didn't much like it. I've grew up basically in a comic store, and Luke, who does a lot of my podcast episodes with me, owns a comic store. When you look back at comics and political, satire or anything to that, you can go back and look at Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. They did Green Lantern and Green Arrow, hard traveling heroes. It dealt with drug use, the war. It dealt with racism. It dealt with heavy shit. And I mean, we look at Green Arrow as a silly hero with, boxing glove arrows back then. It was very campy. But when you get that cover, and Al, you probably remember it, the cover of Speedy sitting there with a heroin needle in his arm. That was that.
Well, I can remember Spider-Man without the approval stamp.
Yep.
That one. Spider-Man has to deal with saving his friends from drugs. But because it mentioned drugs, they wouldn't give the stamp of approval on that. So that was one of the first comics, one of the big comics issued without that stamp.
Yeah, and Stan Lee was like, screw it, I'm going to print it anyway.
Yeah.
The one that I remember is that is how in Marvel what got a lot of positive and some negative press about this was when they had Tony Stark going through a battle with alcoholism.
Yes.
In Iron Man. And that was one of the first things, me as a teenager, reading that, I'm like, wow. They're showing that perhaps they're one of their foundation characters as somebody who is really flawed. Like,
well, that was with Iron Man.
What's that?
He was supposed to be the least likable character possible to make into a superhero, because originally he was also rather misogynistic.
Sure.
He was a very 50s sort of person. He drank and womanized, and he wasn't always particularly caring about the fallout of any of it.
Right.
And in the comic books, they were great. They wove that into the story. They've kept that going.
Sure.
They've had at one point he lost everything. He was on the street, homeless, and sired a child with a homeless woman. I don't know where exactly all that wound up. He's lost the company a couple of different times. He's wound up dealing with alcohol. There's one where he's trying to do something with cyber intelligence, and the intelligence sucks his brain into the computer and puts the computer brain into Tony's body. And the computer doesn't understand why you should not drink. And so it goes out and gets drunk. And eventually Tony finds his way back into his own body. But then he has to walk past all of his employees that know his history, knowing that they'll all know, wow, he fell off the wagon again.
Sure.
And that's very embarrassing for him. And he can't tell them, it's not my fault, I didn't do it. Because that's what an alcoholic would say.
Right. Jarvis went out on a bender, not me.
Yeah. So,
well, and they even touch about it in the movies. I found it interesting that they start out Tony Stark being an arms dealer.
He was
a guy who makes millions on war and death, being this hero. But then I like how they took that and they kind of molded him into a guy that's trying to make atonement for what is done. And I think Robert Downey Jr. was terrific at that.
Yes.
But when you see that he was an arms dealer, and then you look at when they did was it Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the television series, they had there's a storyline where they were dealing with Howard Stark, Tony's father, and going back to the 40s, and you pointed it out. Howard Stark is portrayed as a misogynistic, hard drinking, kind of guy. He's kind of lovable in a sense, but
was
really
not a faithful husband.
No,
not at all.
No. But that was the day.
Yeah.
Even in Venture Brothers, which is a sort of a parody on Johnny Quest. We keep having flashbacks about Dr. Venture and his overbearing 50s father, who's sort of Doc Samson. And throughout the story, we start finding out stuff like he blackmailed his friend by taking naughty videos of them with some women they were fooling around with so that he could sleep with his friend's wife. Things like that, because that was the 50s. I mean, you watch Mad Men, that was kind of what it was. I'll share a little something here. The man I grew up with as my father, who adopted me, was very definitely, he was an older gentleman, but he was definitely the 50s man. He was a guy, he was an alcoholic, chain smoked Camel Straights, couldn't leave the house without a carton, not a pack, a carton. He'd have like a $2,000 a month habit now. And I know that when he had to entertain businessmen, he had a list of phone numbers for women who were probably not professionals, but were understanding that out-of-town businessmen might need entertainment, and there'd be a little something in it for them.
Okay.
You know, and that's just how business was done back in the day. Even into the 80s, the Japanese businessmen would come over here, and they're like, okay, you know, where's the girl for me tonight?
They do the same thing here in Honolulu.
Yeah, so this was, at a time, this was the standard, not the variant of how it behaved.
Reminds me of that.
The prostitution trade here in Honolulu looks exclusively for Japanese men that are just coming over here for vacation. Because why? Because most of them are uber freaking wealthy.
Yeah, and I remember there was a story about somebody tried to blackmail a Japanese businessman. Again, this is back in the 70s, by taking pictures of him. And his response was, can I get these in an 8x10 for my wife?
There you go.
Because over there, this is what they're expected to do, and the wife is expected to, allow this, back then at least.
And it's still that way today.
It probably is. So,
yeah,
very different world.
Reminds me of that movie Dirty Work, which has Jack Warden is one of these longtime actors right out of what you're talking the 50s and 60s to start with. And
I was thinking of Norm Macdonald there.
Norm Macdonald comes to the warden's in a hospital bed or something like that, but they come to I guess he was in a nursing facility, and they're coming to him to he's a hard drinking, hard loving kind of guy, and they come to visit him and welcome him or wish him a happy birthday, and he goes, "Happy birthday, Pop, we got a gift for you." And his first response was, "Great, son, where's the whore?"
Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm dead now.
I don't know if any of you all remember this television series because it didn't stay on, but I think for like 2 seasons. But Christopher Titus, I love Christopher Titus. Sure. And he had that show called Titus, and Stacy Keach playing the part of his father, Ken Titus, was every bit of what you would think a dude from the 50s, 60s, and 70s was. Exactly what Ken Titus was.
Absolutely. I mean, I still use the line about how mothers give you knowledge, dads make you earn it. Mom comes up, don't stick a fork into the wall socket. Dad says, go ahead, do it. Zap. Won't do that again, will you? That was the way. They had one where the father is having a heart attack, and they've got a video of him at the stoplight in his car driving there. It's like, oh, he's got a cat in his lap. No, it's gone. Now it's back. Now it's that's not a cat in his lap. On the way to the hospital. Stop the bacon cheeseburger on the way.
That reminds me of the old Chris Farley when they did John Goodman on Saturday Night Live. He's like,
yeah, got to start it back up again. Because dying by a heart attack, that was a standard business thing. If you were a successful businessman, at least, you were expected to die by a heart attack. So,
but yeah, of course, for us, yes. It's a good way to die, especially in a horror film when you're being chased by a little small doll, okay?
Always like that in Student Bodies. Why do they always run?
Yes.
Speaking of little dolls, that Chucky series that just came out on Sci-Fi is excellent. If nobody has ever watched it, get the Sci-Fi app. You can watch it for free. Just got to deal with the commercials, but it is great.
Still the voice of Brad Dourif?
Yeah, and his daughter plays him in the movie or in the television series, and she nails his character.
No doubt.
I was just blown away, and then the way they dressed her up, I was like, holy crap, she looks just like her dad did in the first movie back in 1988.
Oh, geez.
It was spooky. How much she looks like her father.
Yeah, no doubt.
There are a couple of actors that get away with that. John Pertwee's son, who keeps saying, he doesn't want anything to do with Doctor Who, shows up, and gosh, he's old enough now, he looks like his father. when you dress him up.
You watch him in Gotham, and you see he looks so much like his dad. He didn't start with that, but I got to give him praise. Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
Dog Soldiers, one of the best werewolf movies out there.
Yeah.
Yep. And if people haven't watched it, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right. And this is the fun part about our show, too, is that we will try to get the youngster there some really classic horror films to watch.
We introduced him to Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
And he said, Peter Cushing, martial arts, I'm there. That's all right.
Right.
That was fun.
And chop-socky stuff.
And chop-socky stuff.
Luke gets on me all the time because he's like, dude, you are such a Peter Cushing nerd. I'm like, look, man, Peter Cushing is God to me.
Yeah.
When it comes to horror movies, I'm sorry.
Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, they were just, that is, that's why I'm the Christopher Lee guy probably in this group. I'm the,
yes, because you're the tallest of us.
Oh well,
You're the tallest.
And you gotta be Christopher Lee.
I think that would make you, as far as height wise, it would make you the Peter Lorre.
That's right.
I think you're the shortest.
Peter Lorre Jr.
You're the shortest of us.
I tell you another werewolf movie out there that nobody really pays much mind to, and it's a guilty pleasure for me. I know it's super corny, those that seen it, but Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
Great movie. I liked the sequels.
I'm the one that actually liked Cursed, and I know that movie gets a lot of negative flack.
Yes.
The Wes Craven's attempt at the werewolf thing, and I actually liked it. God help me, but Ginger Snaps was fun.
Well, yeah, as I was going to say, it was funny because, there was this film fest up in San Francisco, and they're playing Ginger Snaps 2, and they had a special guest, the director, Emily Perkins, and the young lady who'd later become on Orphan Black, Tatiana Massey. So I got to meet all three of them. And I was going wow, this was cool, and it's a lot of fun meeting people.
Yeah.
Well, Ginger Snaps to me was Jennifer's Body before Jennifer's Body.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, to me, Jennifer's Body is just a complete ripoff of Ginger Snaps. It's just one is a werewolf and the other one is a demon or a succubus or whatever she's
whatever you want to call her.
Sure.
Yeah,
But you did do a good job with it.
Yeah. Just kill people. That's all we really want to see is it was sort of my whole thing was we're in horror films. The two things I totally don't really need to see or want to see is poor animals getting killed or little kids. Other than that, anything's game, and so the only time I thought I saw a kid getting killed, at least in an 80s movie or early 90s, was the remake of The Blob, where, and I go, holy crap, they finally killed a kid. Oh, never mind. There goes that streak.
Well, I usually don't kill the dog, although in the movie, I think it was the 80s, The Boogans.
Yes.
They have the most obnoxious poodle in the entire universe. And when you see the tentacles coming forth through the floor grate, your little yip, and then the grate's been pulled in, tufts of dog hair, the entire theater cheered. The dog. So,
and there are, movies like that. Oh, by the way, I do have to mention this. I was on Dread Central or Bloody Disgusting the other day, and I saw a trailer for a god-awful new shark vampire film.
Sharkula or something, Sharkula.
Yeah, Sharkula.
Oh, God.
I'm no, please, God. Tell me.
There's been the Shark Exorcist.
Yes.
Ghost Shark.
And there's been Sharknado.
Yeah.
Dracula, diarrhea of a madman.
There you go.
Yeah.
The new film.
Whenever someone talks about whether or not a movie is too bad, I tell them, remember, somebody thought Sharknado needed to be greenlit.
Hey, somebody even thought Velocipaster needed to be greenlit. That was the worst shit I've ever watched. But it was so bad I couldn't stop watching it.
That's right. There are movies like that are made to be like that, so people can just say, "Hey, this movie was so bad, I couldn't stop watching it," and stop laughing at me.
The whole raptor reveal at the end was one of those inflatable dinosaur costumes you see at shitty sporting events, where it was just running around like that, and it was attacking ninjas. And I'm like, nothing about this movie makes sense.
Ninjas.
Well, what about Tammy and the T-Rex?
Yes.
While the T-Rex is actually an animatronic, was done fairly well. There's a scene where the T-Rex is trying to emote to his girlfriend. A young man has died and his brain has been put into the mechanical T-Rex's body, and he's trying to emote to his girlfriend that it's him. And they just put some green Playtex gloves on the guy, and he's doing this with green Playtex gloves to her face, trying to get her to understand who he is. That was pretty cheesy.
See, guys, this movie that lets you know you too can be a filmmaker.
That's right.
Now, the job for us podcasters is we have to kind of sort out the ones that, you know.
No. This is the fun part about Tammy and the T-Rex. It starred Paul Walker, the late Paul Walker, and Denise Richards, and Terry Kaiser, and Ellen Dubin.
Terry Kaiser, Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie. Everyone remembers Bernie. He's dead, but he's still living.
Friday the 13th, Part 7, the creepy psychiatrist, Terry Kaiser.
Yeah.
Didn't he catch a weed whacker with a saw blade to the crotch?
Yes. Very well. He did it. But
all the fun things we've seen.
Yes, all the fun death scenes, and the blood, the guts, the gore.
Blood, gore, guts. Yes.
Hey, can I put it? We're talking about Peter Cushing. Can I put a shout out to the passing of Veronica Carlson?
Go ahead.
Yes.
We're doing an extreme shift over to Hammer Horror. I realize that, but I'd met her several times, and actually kind of got to know her over the course of conventions. She was once I first met her. Tell you a story real quick. When I first met her in '97. Which is at the FanX Con in Baltimore, Maryland. I get into the to the lobby the Thursday night before the show, and I'm walking towards this group, and she is there with this group at the bar, and she's seated, and I go around to her left, I think her left shoulder, over her left shoulder, and she turns around, looks up at me, and I go, "How do you do, Miss Carlson? I'm one of your, my name's Kevin. I'm one of your biggest fans." And she goes, "Yes, I think you are." And ever since then, I spent the next several hours talking with her, and you talked with her about anything, not just Hammer, not just her films and things like that. You talk about, she had all these kinds of stories that she would tell. The type of person that she was is that when I saw her again, some 2 years later, I hadn't seen her for a couple of years. I go to another convention on the East Coast. I go to her table, and before I say anything, I come into the room. Before I say anything, she gets up and she goes, "Kevin!" She was that type of person that she remembered your name without any kind of provocation. And I had the good fortune to interview her for a Creatures Con here locally. In 2019 for the premiere of House of the Gorgon, her and Josh Kennedy. And she is just a delight, very warm, person. and it's just I think the world's going to miss her.
Yeah. And
If you've never seen her, I mean, this woman was beyond beautiful. I mean, just beyond the very word.
Even at 77 or 78 years old, she still looked like she was 40. She was just, and she carried herself with a true grace.
Yeah.
But you guys have any other any recollections of Veronica or
No.
Casino Royale? I think she was in Casino Royale, wasn't she?
She was. You know, and it's like I read one of the stories how I guess Terrence Fisher or one of the guys from Hammer saw her in like this photo of her in a white bikini, and they said, "Hey, we want
James
you,
Carreras, the Hammer
we
founder.
want you to be in this film.
Right.
You gotta, and she auditioned and she got the role, and that's part of the history,
Right.
Daphne and the Ghoul with Peter Cushing. She was in that. She played Daphne in that movie. That's one of those underrated gems out of the Hammer library that not many people give much love to.
True. There are, like with Hammer, God love them, their movies are, like, hey, you either like it or you don't, and it's like you just go like, I like almost everything Hammer does.
But if you don't like Hammer, I can't be your friend if you don't like Hammer.
Right. That's the thing. I'll give you the Hammer.
We will freely admit, though, that Hammer has made some stuff that's kind of...
Yes,
yeah,
they
we're
have.
watching it anyway, so there.
Yeah.
But, I admit I enjoy majority of all the Hammer films that they did. I'm not going to say, like, hey, this is the classic. You got to watch this. But,
Sure.
It is like with any film company, like Universal.
They went to the well. For me, they went to the well once too often with Dracula, and it got to the point where, sadly, it caused Christopher Lee to almost resent ever playing the character, and that's sad, man, because that was
I agree with you
there.
They're like the one of the Hammer films that I think like. Yes, they went way too much on track. And then, of course, they went with Frankenstein. And then, oh, hey, let's do, they didn't do enough with the werewolf, which they could have.
But here's the thing, Joe. But Curse of the Werewolf, wasn't it fair to say that it being a one-off was all it needed? I don't think it needed a sequel. I think it was perfect just the way it was.
I think the same can be said for the Mummy series that they did, which I felt kind of went one more too many. I'm not the biggest fan of Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, to be honest with you. But then again, it picks up with the Mummy's Shroud a little bit. But Hammer was always going with a formula until it died, until they couldn't possibly get. And that's symptomatic. That's the problem with the Dracula series. It got to the point where even Warner's said, "We're not distributing this, or we're not going to sell this because this is not making any money." That's why the Satanic Rites of Dracula sat on the shelf for domestic distribution. Or international distribution. It was distributed locally, but it didn't get an international distribution to the States until 1978.
Right.
Because Warner's had said it played out.
It's like, I look at it this way. That's true. It's like, that's why you go back and you can say, okay, look at the Universal films when they started, the monster mashup and, and you go like, they're cute, but then all of a sudden they kept going and going, and you're just going like, will you please end? It's sort of like, as me and a friend would always say, when they make a sequel to a movie, there are so many unanswered questions in that last film So that's why we have number 8 coming out for you.
Right. But you were afraid of what was going to happen next because the formula was drying up. Were they going to have a mashup between Captive Wild Woman and She-Wolf of London?
Was Dracula come out as gay next?
That's right.
Pink.
I need to know: does Dracula come out as gay and have a relationship with Larry Talbot?
You have to wonder about this stuff. Now, I saw an interview with Christopher Lee, and somebody asked him about the vampire movies, and he sort of winced. But he said, I don't want to do them because they don't have anything new. But if there was, because he is a gentleman, that if they came out with a script that brought something new, I would consider it. And I, as a young person, saw that and going, I've got to think of something for this. If I could be the guy that comes up with a script idea, even if I don't get paid for it in any way, that makes Christopher Lee come back to being Dracula, that would be a great thing to have in my life. Unfortunately, that's one thing. I'm actually working on my first vampire story, the only vampire story I've ever come up with. So, and I'm pretty sure Christopher Lee's not going to come into it.
No.
Unless we can get a gigantic stand-in and the cardboard box.
No.
All right, I'll do it.
No, but yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. No,
actually, Joe, you might be good for the part.
There you go.
Hello. I am not. No. That's the whole fun part. It's like I'll tell you this much. I've only acted, and I swear I'm not the greatest actor in the world by any stretch of the imagination. And this is where, excuse me, I'll bring Simon back. This is Simon. Simon is my silent partner on my show. I was in a movie that was amply titled. It was a sequel to a movie called Monstered. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Monstered.
Yes, I know.
The movie is called Retarded, and I got to play a bum by the name of Dickie Pringle, and I got to do the infamous Snoop Dogg, like little lingo of like, fazzizzle my nizzle, and I had this like lines of like, I'm seriously here to fuck up shit. Fazzizzle my nizzle, drink some wine, then get my head ripped off by a zombie. And so, since I got my head ripped off, they gave me the head, and so I kept him with me all this time.
Joe walks in like Will Ferrell. What you guys here for? We're here to fuck shit up.
That's right. And so the movie actually, took longer for them to get made. And it finally came out. They did the premiere out at the Victorian Theater up in San Francisco. I went, and like one of the directors came up to me and he said, "Dude, when you got killed off, people were applauding." And I went like, "Oh God, please, no." And so like when it came up to that scene, I was like, duck, cover, because it's like when you see yourself on the big screen, you're going like, "Oh my God, really? That's not good." Don't play it. But
Anthony, are you and I the only ones who like have not appeared in front of a camera on a film before?
Oh, I'll never act ever.
Oh yeah.
You don't want me in front of you. If I'm acting in your movie, then that shit has already failed.
I'm going to ship you one of those little spider box with a camera on it, in a box with a Ouija board.
You don't want me acting,
and then you'll be.
I used to do a bad paranormal type parody thing on my YouTube channel. I had to send it to you. I used to call it Ghost Humpers.
I think I've heard of that.
No, see, we need to incorporate you, involve a Ouija board, and make Anthony your target.
Yeah.
We're going to do we'll do a movie, we'll do a little film a la Bowfinger where we'll make Anthony realize without ever knowing it that he's involved in that he's involved in a paranormal event.
I'll just be the guy that goes across the highway. Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
Yeah, the one me and Luke did, it was like we conjured up the spirit of Tony Turbo, who was a dead 1980s breakdancer, and he somehow
Not a porn star?
that
sounds like a porn star name.
Yeah.
He possesses Luke, and Luke gets sucked into what we call the dance dimension, and then he comes back and just keeps breakdancing until like his feet are bleeding and stuff. And then somehow I'm trying to save him, but Tony Turbo's ghost attacks me, and then at the end I die. Share it with you all. It's like Paranormal Activity, but shitty acting and just.
Well, hey,
Unlike Paranormal Activity.
Some Paranormal Activity shows.
yeah. Well, hey, as I've always said, 3 scenes don't always make a movie, man.
I enjoyed watching myself be stupid.
There's
that at least.
It could be fun. We could play that on our show, Anthony.
Nice.
We'll just go like it's ghost, paranormal night here on the Grim and Bloody podcast.
Actually, I'm loving the questions that you've been getting.
Anyone?
Any more questions from anybody out there? I love dance. I love. Morgan had great questions.
Anybody?
Mandy had some great comments.
Anybody?
Anybody out there?
Just as long as we don't have questions about the Batman, because I have been hearing and reading stuff about that. I'm so.
I was going to ask, has anybody seen the new Batman?
I'm so burned out on it. I am so burned out on superhero movies. I'm giving it a break. That's what I'm just going to wait.
I'll just say you would be missing a good one then. It's not a great one. It's a good one.
I've heard people call it a masterpiece. I've heard somebody literally go that far.
And I've heard people call it shit.
Masterpiece.
I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on it a bit and see it because I need to get.
I'll say though, Kevin, it's an excellent Batman movie.
Is it?
Is it better than The Dark Knight?
Is it
remains to be seen?
Is it better than the Burton films, the Keaton ones of the late 89, 92?
That's tough because it's a completely different take. I know it's a different show. It's a completely different take, almost for a different audience.
Okay.
But it was still very, very good. If anything, Michael Giacchino's score made that movie.
Sure.
When he did the Star Trek movies, they were good. You could just tell that if you put any other, composer in there, it wouldn't have been as good. But Michael Giacchino, I think, is one of the top composers. I put him above Hans Zimmer, to be honest.
Well, here we go. I look at it. I personally am also going to wait.
Yeah, Zimmer's good.
I am going to wait on the Batman. Even though I saw how much it made the opening weekend, it's like, I don't need to rush.
But it seems to me like every weekend now you're seeing first it's the Spider-Man film. Now it's the Batman. It's coming up as the Morbius is coming up. We've got
Doctor Strange
and the Multiverse coming up. We've got
that look good.
The trailer
Morbius
does look good, but my point is that we've got like every week it seems like it's or every month it seems like it's a superhero film.
There was also a backlog of movies that just didn't come out or were delayed because of the pandemic. So
Morbius looks bad. Morbius looks bad to me. I'm sorry.
It does. I'll skip that one. Yeah.
And that's the thing. There are movies, the trailers could either make it or break your film. And, like for me, if I don't, the trailer might be okay. I'll just wait to see it on DVD or on demand and to say, okay.
What intrigues me is that Jared Leto is a very interesting actor. So that gives me like a reason to want to see it. But I'm kind of with you. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look
great. It looks like your standard.
The way it's shot, it's just too damn dark for one. The whole trailer, I'm like, damn, did they use any light at all in any part of this?
That's how I felt about that Gotham TV series. Because I'm a huge Batman guy, so I saw Gotham. Like, you guys really saved money on lighting, didn't you? Because yours is literally no lighting.
I don't want to max out the brightness on my TV just to watch your stupid movie.
Thank you, Game of Thrones.
I think that's the whole purpose of that was to just show this is darkness. This is in total, you know, what do you want to say, neon realism, you know, type of set. I just say on Morbius, Jared Leto is a usually very interesting actor, can be a very good actor. Some great films that he is.
Maybe I'm old school. I like Seven.
That's my only complaint with this. This is like one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, but I always felt it was shot way too dark.
Right.
Seven was shot in broad daylight. That was an incredibly dark movie.
They talk about Ridley Scott. Anthony. Oh, Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Did you hear we're about ready to redo Alien? New franchise with the director.
Fede Alvarez has now.
That's going to Netflix, though. It's going to streaming.
Fede Alvarez has been offered from Universal and Ridley Scott himself to direct a new standalone Alien movie. And if it's anything like that Chainsaw Massacre movie,
you can't do the original. Sorry.
Well, Fede Alvarez is not a good director to me. I'm sorry. All he did with Evil Dead was copy and paste what Sam Raimi already did. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre was trash. And I'm scared he's going to do the same thing with Alien. Now here comes all the hate comments towards John because I didn't like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You know, as I always say to people, you know, you don't have to like every single horror film
with no connection to the other movies.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder about the horror genre going forward, because you have that going on with Alien. You have Nicolas Cage as Dracula going on with the movie Renfield.
Although I like Nicolas Cage.
I can see him as Renfield.
Yeah.
See, Nicolas Cage can be a good actor, and he's an Academy Award winner. It's just that he picks any and every role, no matter if it's right for him or not.
Because he's broke.
If they cast The Rock in Alien,
Morgan, I'm gonna have
That's
if
true.
The Rock was in Alien, I'd be watching that in theaters.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the girl.
Fanboy.
Rock.
That's not the only thing that can save Alien is The Rock.
So we'll make The Rock
or
the new Ellen Ripley. We'll put a
Yes.
Sigourney Weaver wig on him and just let him go.
Well,
There you
He's
go.
got bigger
Mark.
We
pecs.
need The Rock to hit steroids for about 3 weeks.
Just
so he
super
gets
fucking just
massively ripped.
dude bro Ellen Ripley just
yes.
puffed up meat
Just-
head.
Just let him
Morgan,
clothesline the alien.
That's what we need.
Morgan, I'll say if they either cast The Rock or Mark Wahlberg in Alien, people will watch it.
Or Tom Holland. He'll get the teeny bop crowd.
Tom Holland's not so bad.
I want Rock and Kevin Hart.
There you go. They could do
Oh,
it.
God, help me.
Oh,
That could be the sequel. Kevin Rock. No, but
what do you mean there's an alien baby in me?
yeah, that's right. It just like, you know, with any movie, you know, when they start, you know, like, oh, we're gonna make this movie, and all of a sudden you see, oh, we're casting The Rock or Mark Wahlberg or, you know, Nicolas Cage, you know, Kevin's favorite, and, you know, Spider-Man 3 billion. I don't know, but you know, there's nothing wrong with these guys. It's just, hey, you know, sometimes I don't blame the actors. Sometimes I blame the writers. They're just going like, oh, here's our little script. Go ahead. And it's like, what? I don't say anything. That's the whole
I still remember Rock and Doom, and I'm like, this Doom is nothing like the video game.
Yeah.
And sorry, Rock, that was a turd. That was one of
Yeah.
your few turds that you've had on your IMDb.
He's had a few.
Yeah, the Tooth Fairy might have been the biggest turd of all of them.
Yeah. Go ahead. Get
I always loved that when I was doing my show and I found a movie that I want to do, and I'm trying to find it on IMDb, and I can't. So I'll go look at the main actor in it, and I'll try to look them up. It's not on their list either. It's like, wow, this movie really stank. Nobody wants to talk about it.
That's right. But maybe us.
Well, usually you find an actor third or fourth in that was desperate enough, they put it on their IMDb, and then you
tune in next week, guys. We're going to do a watch party of the Tooth Fairy starring Rock.
There you go.
Well, no,
we want to scare your audience off.
As long as we don't follow it up with the sequel, which actually brings in Larry the Cable Guy.
That's what I was going to say. Get her done.
Yeah.
Get her done.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever seen that movie with him called Health Inspector?
Yes.
No.
Not completely. I saw pieces of it.
Yeah.
That might have been the only funny movie he actually did. I did enjoy that one, but Delta Farce, that was shit.
Yes.
I did enjoy the one where he did the voice work
Cars.
of the Cars. Was it Cars?
Yeah.
The tow truck.
My name's Toe Mater.
That's it. I enjoyed that one.
The first one.
But that's about it.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Oh,
every
mate.
actor goes
You're not
through.
eating pistachio ice cream.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it. I love Larry's comedy shows, his stand-up, and all this stuff, but he is not an actor.
No.
Come on, we're going to go tractor tipping.
He's gonna track us down and hurt us. I have a feeling. Kevin, thanks.
That's it. That's it. And Nick Cage is going to be right behind him.
That's right.
You know, Nick Cage's B movies aren't bad.
No.
The new one he just did, Prisoners of Ghostland, I actually liked it.
Well,
Yeah.
I heard
Really,
the one
I
he
gotta
did
see
for
that. I
Pig.
saw that at Best Buy.
It's not bad.
Yeah, Pig's not bad.
Yeah.
Mandy, I didn't understand. Mandy was like
Yep.
being on.
I still have no idea what
LSD.
Mandy was about. What was that supposed to be?
No,
No idea.
zombie.
But so many
That's
people
what
were
zombie
like
flick? I
holding
haven't seen
Mandy up like it was the greatest thing. I'm like, to me, that movie was garbage because I didn't know it. All I knew was Nicolas
I remember him
Cage and his
crying.
girlfriend get chased down by Iggy Pop in his coat because Iggy Pop showed his uncircumcised penis to whoever, and she laughed at
whatever
him.
the heck.
So he kills her, and then Nicolas Cage goes for revenge. That was all I got out of that movie.
There it is.
Nicholas
And I know
Cage
that
is
Iggy-
Thunderbirds.
I know that actor wasn't Iggy Pop, but he looked like Iggy Pop, so that's what I call him.
To me, Nicolas Cage is this actor, simply put. You can take, he's done a career of about, 80 to 100 films, let's say. You could take 6 of them out as his best. And the rest is just in it for the pay or the vanity.
Well, he's
Willie's
got a new
Wonderland.
one coming out where
Willy's Wonderland is great, and he doesn't speak a bit of dialogue in that entire movie. Maybe
Yes.
that's why it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
he's got a new one coming out where he plays himself, and there's some Greek super fan that's going to pay him $1 million to come spend the weekend out at his villa in Greece.
Yeah, who is
And-
the guy that plays the super fan? I've seen him in some other stuff.
But that looked like the most realistic portrayal of the gentleman possible.
But I mean, when I think of Nick, when we all think, I think of Nick Cage, we start thinking of Raising Arizona, maybe Moonstruck, Red Rock West. I think of that one. Maybe Leaving Las Vegas and The Rock. All of those films prior to 1996. Or Con Air.
Okay. Morgan has a question for us,
Yeah.
kiddies.
Yes.
He asked, which movie would you want to remake?
None.
Anyone that didn't have me in it.
And there's Al's
Morgan,
answer.
none. There's so many remakes. I know that they're remaking a thing that's already been remade. They tried to do the 2011 version, but give me something real. Give me something original.
I
Oh,
have.
well,
Right.
I do
Now,
have.
they keep saying they want to remake Forbidden Planet. And the
Yeah.
problem with that is that Forbidden Planet just holds up so well. So I'll put this out there. I'd like to see a remake of Forbidden Planet if it was done well. And that's the problem is they're going to shortchank it. You just know it.
Mhm.
And I'll follow up with that. I want to see, and they've talked about this since the early part of the 2000s. I want to see a remake done well of Colossus: The Forbidden Project.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
They were talking about in 2005, Ron Howard got attached to it. And I think Brian Grazer got attached to it. But then Will Smith got attached to it as a star name. And I said, oh, my God.
Will Smith can be serious. Well, he can.
I would like to see the Stuff get remade.
The Stuff was good. Yeah.
I don't know, as corny as it was, I don't know that there's a lot of room for improvement in that one.
Well, I just with the Alien itself, I don't think that it doesn't hold up at all compared, to what we have today. I just think the special effects could be better.
Al, to answer your question on the Colossus thing, I don't see Will Smith as the intellectual, the bookish kind of scientist that Charles Ford.
No, hey,
I see
his stuff.
I see a guy, this giant spider invasion.
Here we go. I got one.
So I'm going to
Leslie Parrish, the giant.
I'm going to plug Morgan real quick. Morgan is a friend of mine who is a film director. He's doing an indie film called Elvira's Haunted Asylum of Horror.
Yes.
And I am currently an associate producer on that one as well.
Yes.
Morgan, you are welcome to come on our show at any point in time.
There we
if
go.
you want to talk giant spider invasion with Leslie Parrish,
and
Steve Brody, and made-up Volkswagens, covered to look like tarantulas. They actually used a Volkswagen with a tarantula covering on it as one of the main creatures.
Funny you bring that up, the Helvira's Haunted Mansion, because I was going to mention that too, because I too am one of the producers on that, and he's welcome to be on my show too. So
absolutely.
And here we go. My quick answer to this would be the very cheesy and very laughable Bad Channels or Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's a toss-up.
I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, it's hard to improve on that one.
So that's why I put Bad Channels.
Bad Channels, maybe.
Yes.
He says he's not a podcast. Yeah, I've tried to get him on my podcast, and Morgan's not. But
We'll talk, Morgan. We are unlike any other, podcast.
We are the pod people of the cast.
You will just talk to four guys that love horror, and then
I get it. Some people are shy, man. I get it.
Morgan, we get it. If you're shy, you can bring the cast on, and they can have a nice little laugh and say, "Morgan, you can be there." And then
just bring Helvira.
People might not realize this. I suffer from social anxiety. I do. I don't like.
We will take care of your shyness by all of us appearing naked on camera. There you go.
I am naked under my clothes.
Take care of it,
or under the camera, as far as you know.
I don't know if we can take all of that Joe Flynn sexiness if you get him.
We can't.
Joe. Joe, you're too much.
The earth is going to
flash that skin, baby. Come on, flash that skin.
You might end up with a OnlyFans out of that.
That's right. Where's my pen? No, but make sure we bring the Ouija board.
Didn't Joe tell you that that's an OnlyFans account?
We just don't want to see how you're handling the planchette.
Morgan, I'm going to let you know I'm an introvert, and I feel you, brother. I do. But when you're on with like-minded individuals like I am right now with Kevin and Anthony and Joe and Al, it helps. It really brings out your inner whoever, your horror nerd or whatever you might be.
Morgan, I'm going to tell you that I have no self-esteem whatsoever.
He doesn't.
True.
I can't take credit for for anything. I do not praise myself, for what I do. So you are not alone in this.
No.
On the other hand, Morgan, I have enough ego to go around for several people, so I'm happy to share with you.
There you
Ask
go.
anyone; they'll tell you this. So I will give you lots of ego to share and help you with your production.
And here's
And
the
Morgan,
thing, man.
and Morgan,
You're braver than you think, Morgan, because guess what? You're a film director.
That's right.
You are putting yourself out there artistically. So,
Yeah.
Oh, if you're a director, then if you're a director, you have to lead people, no matter if it's a crew of 10 or 50 or 100, and you pretty much have to execute your vision, even if you receive feedback or backlash or pushback. You say, "This is what I want to do, and this is how I want to do it." And we've had filmmakers come on where their crew left during production, and they said they've had to gruel it out to the end just to see what they wanted to see done.
and this gentleman, we felt so bad for this for this gentleman, because he ended up doing like 3 or 4 roles himself because the crew was leaving, but he got it done.
Yeah,
he got it done, and he came on to talk about it. We were very appreciative.
And that's the thing, and Morgan, being a filmmaker, eventually, once you get your films out, people are going to say, "Hey, we'd like to interview you." It could be for the papers, it could be for television, it could be for anything. And even if you're shy, then that's okay. People will notice that, and they'll either, ask, like how we do. We take it nice and slow. We basically ask questions about what inspired you to make this film. What is it that you want to?
Oh, thank you, Morgan. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're awesome,
brother.
And we basically want all filmmakers that we interview and talk to succeed in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
See, when we interview you, Morgan, we have you on the show, we use a form of lube,
called alcohol.
Like alcohol, just kind of lure.
There's no lube on this show.
And here's the beauty, Morgan. You don't have to do a live stream like I've offered you to come on my show. We don't have to do a live stream. It can just be audio, brother. And I'll edit it and just put it up straight audio. You don't have to show your face or anything. And
our podcast is pretty much audio.
And to also caveat all that, you want to hear a shit show? I will send you the file of the very first podcast episode I did. I'm not a master podcaster by no stretch of the imagination. I would like to think I've gotten better over the past 2 years, but that first episode was a turd. It was bad.
Yes.
I can imagine if we looked at our.
I did a show and I didn't hit the record button.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Yes. Or here's a fun story, and I think I told John this when he was on our show afterwards. It was like we were interviewing Dee Wallace for the first time, and I call in. I can hear Kevin and Anthony, but for some reason they couldn't hear me. And I go like, "Hey, guys, can you hear me?" No. And I'm like, guys, and it was just like on their end, they had no clue why I wasn't being able to contact with them. And I just sat there listening to the whole show, even though I was like bummed out that I didn't get to talk to Dee Wallace and stuff like that. But it happened.
I spliced your audio in later. The show came out pretty good. That's the beauty of pre-recorded is, any hiccups, even pauses. Even let's take a 10-minute break and take a piss. Right? You can do that pre-recorded. There's no pressure whatsoever. You can even rehearse what kind of questions you want to go over. And as long as you have a pretty sound-minded producer in it, you can pretty much splice together a pretty nice show.
Yeah.
The reason why in my season 2 I've started doing a lot more live streams is because I want everybody to get to know you guys. And even you filmmakers that come on my show, I want the fans, I'm not rocking no big army of fans, but the ones out there that appreciate horror movies and remember these actors, actresses, filmmakers, whoever, you have a chance through me to interact with these people that you would have never in any possibility, any other way would have had that chance to interact with him. Like I had Frank Farrell on my show last week, and he was so taken aback that so many people still remembered him, because to him, he was like, I was just a writer for a movie that got snatched away from me for years, Spookies. And then he was like, and then, I was a producer on Street Trash, and I was a guy that got my willy whacked off in one scene. He's like, so how do I have this longevity? And I told him, I was like, because you made an impact on people. No matter how small of something that you did, what at the end of the day matters is that we remember you. And like with Spookies, I mean, I wasn't there when it first came out, but when I watched it, I even told him, I said, dude, you had a masterpiece, in my opinion. As much as you might look at it and think that it was trash, no pun intended for Street Trash, but it was just one of those movies that, with its practical effects, I don't know if any of you all seen Spookies, but with its practical effects and everything that it accomplished, it was way ahead of its time. And, Frank was like, damn, I kind of like this. I'd like to come back on at some point in time, and just the love that he's receiving now. And a lot of that's in due to Joe Bob Briggs, thank God for him that he brings so many eyes to these obscure movies that most people wouldn't have never known of.
That's very true. And, it's like as I was saying earlier, like how we're getting Anthony watching some of the older classic horror films. Like we suggested to him, about a month or two ago, The Legend of Hell House. Anthony had never seen it. So we told him, you got to watch this movie. And so he watched it and he goes, dude, that is a great film. I enjoyed that.
And the other thing is that Anthony introduces us to films that maybe we haven't seen in the 80s and things like that, or hadn't seen for a long time. So I think we kind of fit off of each other very well.
And we do. And Morgan,
we are a foursome that just works.
Okay, Morgan, I like this. I'd love to do one with my cast. I just was like reading Morgan's.
Hold on, I'll put it back up for you. I'll put it back up. There you
go. Okay, I would love to do one with my cast, but I'll wait until we have worked together and make something to share with the audience. Yes, and that's all that we are asking, Morgan. When you get done with your film or whatever, when you feel like it's time that your film's going to come out,
check us out.
You want to share? Yeah, come on.
Well, what does Morgan need as far as equipment to stream? You're kind of the
tech. That's really you just need a headset and a phone.
Pretty
That's
much.
It.
Yeah.
Quality ones. I just got Kevin a nice. You looking nice and sharp there, Kevin. There you go. A $60 camera and a $40 mic, and you're good to go. Really.
Been tagging Joe Bob on Twitter for Hellvira. Awesome.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Joe Bob is not the most active when it comes to social media. He's kind of like an old guy with new technology. You might want to start tagging Diana Prince. She is his main social media person. And she is such a beautiful, beautiful, not only just beautiful woman, but beautiful person too. I've talked to her many times, and she is just so sweet and down to earth and has no ego whatsoever.
I'm so happy I get to interview later on in the spring. I get to interview Joe Bob.
And she was the one that actually got Joe Bob back because he had just given up on. She met him at a convention and pitched the idea to him of bringing back his kind of like Monster Vision type show. And they got it, and they did a one-off on Shudder, and for some reason that one-off ended up breaking Shudder's algorithm. So Shudder was like, holy shit, can we have you back? Because now look at Shudder. They're like the premier horror streaming service because of Joe Bob.
Right.
But I was able to get in contact with Joe Bob through his site, and his one of his associates, Tracy, got back and says, yeah, Joe Bob would love, if I was approached by Scary Monsters magazine, once it's doing a fall issue of horror hosts throughout vintage ones as well as current ones. And so he said, Kevin, would you, if you can get Joe Bob Briggs, you want to do a cover story? I go, okay, hell's yeah. Joe Bob, Briggs. I grew up with Monster Vision, and I communicated with through his website, and I got an email back from Tracy, forgetting her last name, but one of his reps saying, yeah, Joe Bob will be happy to do it, and it'll have to be after April 1st. But that is just, he is one of the guys.
He will do just about anybody's show. He doesn't care about how popular you are, how many freaking subscribers you got, or any of that. This man has no ego about him whatsoever. To him, he's one of us. That's it. Period. Right. Point blank. But to us, he is the last of the horror host. To be true, I mean, he is that last kind of banner holder for that old particular genre of horror. I mean, Sven Gooley's still out there doing his thing, but he's not got the clout.
Elvira still does her thing.
Yeah.
Still doing it.
But, anyway. It's sort of like, like for us, it was weird because like all of a sudden we got like this channel called Me TV on our cable, and all of a sudden I was flipping the channel and I noticed, oh, hey, what's this? Oh, it's Sven Gooley, and I was like going like, oh, wow, and it was funny because I was at a convention and so I had mentioned him, and I go, yeah, we finally just got to see his show for like the first time out here in California. And they were like, really? And I'm going like, yeah. It's just like, it's weird how, we as, and I'm not saying every horror host should be, picked up syndicately, but, those who are entertaining enough and like out there should be, everyone should be able to see every single horror host, that's got something going on, regardless of how big or small their audience is, play them and see what happens.
Yeah, some of the smaller horror hosts have some interesting ideas. I'm afraid that the name escapes me, but I saw an animated one the other day, and there were a couple of voices in there. It was done pretty well, and this guy probably does one show a month at that, but with some more support, maybe he could do something more. And that's the way it is for a lot of these horror hosts. They just need a better platform, a little bit more money, some talent.
So John, usually at this point in the show, we usually on our show we do a roundtable thing going around finding out.
I was just getting ready to say we probably want to wrap up because I'm pretty sure you guys have got a lot to do today.
It's Sunday.
And it's been a complete
Sunday.
Anthony has family.
They're all starving right now in the house.
Well, they're all quietly plotting to eat his brain.
Well, my Sarlacc pit down here is starting to growl a little bit. So.
Mom, I need more taquitos.
Yeah, you can start with the top. What's you got going on, John?
I've got going on, let's see, I've got Susan Lanier here in the near future. Let's take a look here on my little schedule right here. Because I am not the best with my memory for whatever reason. No, I don't have Alzheimer's. Not yet, anyway.
What's your name?
John Evans.
Okay. Today's date. Come on.
If you can remember that, everything else is gravy.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Damn it. Come on. Pull my pictures up.
Give it to me. Give it now.
All right. So,
boy, you have like you're like you're a golem right there. Like precious.
Yes.
I've got Mark Scheffler coming on here soon. He played in The Last House on the Left. He will be on the show here on March 13th, which next weekend. Then after that, I've got Stephen J. Rubin, who wrote the James Bond Encyclopedia and the Twilight Zone Encyclopedia with Rod Serling's late widow. After that, I have Dylan Brown, who is an indie filmmaker and a friend of mine who is doing a found footage film that's based around, like, you know, cults and demonic type stuff.
Keep Anthony away from that.
Yeah.
It might have a Ouija board.
Send him a copy. All right, to all of his emails and
that's really about it right now. Who's next?
Come on, guys.
All right. Well, I'll say we've got. Actually, I've got some writing that I'm doing. Going to finish up a story for the next issue of We Belong Dead magazine. It's a cover story on American Werewolf in London, and I'm just very happy with that because that's a great it's a great film and happy to look back on that. Then we've got some. I know for our show we have coming up on the 17th, Graydon Clark, the B-movie drive-in directing king of the 70s and early 80s.
We also have Jason Pitts on, right, on the 10th?
Yeah.
And
you'll like Jason is awesome. You'll like Jason.
Or he's Night of the Beast.
Yep.
So we've got some. We've got a few people coming on. I'm working with, thanks to you, John. I'm working with Nancy Ritter to get her on the show for Scream fans. So that'll be. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we've got some stuff cooking.
How about Andre Gower? Were you able to make contact with him?
Not as yet.
Okay.
But I'll have to.
Like I told you, just be patient, man. It takes him a couple of days because he's out touring his Wolfman's Got Nards at all the cons right now.
Yeah. Of course.
I have the action figure.
Yes.
But who doesn't? Who doesn't love Monster Squad? I mean,
if you don't love it, then you got problems.
Yeah, that's it. That's a total homage to every single one of us.
Yeah.
Every single fan that ever grew up on that one. I say if you're gonna watch that, watch something on a marathon, like a theme thing. That movie and Matinee are the movies that Man and Ant. Man, I had more fun with the Bill Shallert, Kathy Moriarty, and Kevin McCarthy film within a film. Man says, yes, your husband has the mandibles of an ant. But that movie, those are about the kids who grew up the Monster fan. And so anyway, but Monster Squad, wonderful, wonderful film. But what do you got, Joe? What do you got coming up?
Well, hey, what I got? Well, I am gearing up and letting everyone know about the new guest list of Monster Palooza.
I just saw Dee Wallace, Doug Bradley.
Yeah, Dee Wallace, David Naughton is going to be there.
Tom Savini, I'm going to have to be there. We're going to have to film
Doug Bradley, Kane Hodder, and Nick Castle supposedly canceled due to production because of Halloween Kills or Ends, whichever one it's called. And yeah, I'm gonna be having fun, trying to avoid the Batman as much as I can, because I am not the Joe Man. Okay.
But yeah, if we can ever get Doug Bradley on our show, that is a fun. I've met him a few times, and he is a guy who is a delight.
He's got his own podcast right now.
Yeah.
So.
He streams occasionally on Twitch as well. So if any one of you don't know, he does a Twitch stream called the Horror Market Pub Showcase or something like that. I gotta look him up.
I have a Twitch every once in a while, but that's a medical,
I know you tried to bring it out for me.
Yeah.
Al?
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Where to begin with things? I am, of course, a part of the T-shirt squad for Hellbira, and an executive producer for the movie. So, of course, I will be shilling for this heavily and hoping for the very best of things to happen with it. I will be at the West Coast Halloween Convention, May 13th through 15th of this year. It's just about 2 months away now. So come on down. I will be one of the guests, and I think they've slated me for the MC. Where's this? Is up in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
As the MC for the Sunday night show. I'm told my hotel room is on the 13th floor, so I can only hope that's room 666. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you're talking about you're the T-shirt man for
I'm part of the T-shirt squad. Those of us who have acquired the T-shirt for.
Are you yourself going to be participating in a wet T-shirt contest?
I've done it before. I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Well,
fat guys up there.
If you put it on Twitch, I'll give you some bits.
Okay.
There you go.
People's and bits and bits and bits.
Yes,
maybe I'll do the show topless someday. I don't know.
Just watch where we put the fivers.
Or some Robux. For some reason, them Robux from Roblox are right now more. They're basically more valuable than the Ruple is in Russia right now. I saw some.
That's not saying anything.
I saw some kid put that on the internet the other day, and it blew my mind. It was like, imaginary currency is worth more than Russian money right now.
Well, Russia's had imaginary currency for a long time. It's called the ruble.
The duel. And Anthony, what do you got?
Oh, beyond the aforementioned guests,
how's the house?
The house is good. Yeah, I just planted another queen palm today.
Nice.
Beyond the aforementioned guests, we are churning out movie reviews. So if you go to the deathparadefilmfest.com, you click on reviews, you're going to see some old and new ones come out. And we just released In the Mouth of Madness. After that one was Resident Evil, Boogeyman. So you're going to see old and new coming through, as well as new episodes of the podcast, as well as news of the film festival. That's going to be probably this November or December up here in the North State. Most likely either Chico or Anderson. So we're receiving submissions. I just got 5 new ones this weekend. So we keep busy here. We keep bringing on filmmakers, and we keep building up that film festival for later this year. So we keep busy, keep having fun.
We're looking for reviewers.
Yes.
Yes. I know that competition closed. We do have Samuel on the team cranking out reviews, but anyone who wants to write a review for the Death Parade Film Fest, email deathparadefilmfest@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, and we'll explore your work and see if you're a good fit for the team.
And while we don't pay, we get your name out there.
Yes,
it's punishable. Talking about reviews, I forgot. I wanted to plug shamelessly, of course, my new app in the App Store for Creature Feature Network. So you can watch me anytime, anywhere, on any device. So please do me a favor and download it and give me a review. Preferably a nice one.
But don't try to watch him on your vibrator, okay?
If you're going to do that
on that device.
Thank you, Morgan, so very much.
Oh, thanks, Morgan.
Thanks, Morgan. Yes. It's been a blast.
As I was also going to say this, it's like, hey, we love and we support our horror fans. So feel free to contact any of us.
Yes,
we'll answer you. And, and like, as we're saying, we also need to do a movie night just to get back then to YouTube and do, like a couple short horror films.
Oh, yeah.
Just, do something fun so people can come hang out with us, ask us questions.
Yeah.
And whatnot. We got to redo that because we love doing that.
The problem with that is that we get into we get so many people who are trying to get distribution on their shorts and so forth. So we don't have a lot of people who say, "Great, here's the short. You guys can show."
Right? No, I'm just saying. if it's someone we can, you know, who's already been on our show and would be willing to do it, I'm just saying, you know, it'd be fun to redo that so that people can come in, hang out, and chat with us.
Definitely.
Cool.
To know us.
Well, if that's it, guys, I would like to say thank you all for joining me today. It was a true honor and a true pleasure.
We're glad to be here.
Anytime you all ever want to come back on, just let me know. If you ever want me back on your show, just let me know. Guys, if you want to find the Grim and Bloody podcast, it's on all streaming platforms, and I will have the information to their website in this description for this particular episode. So if nobody has any other questions and nobody has anything else,
Nope.
I think that's it.
I guess we will bid you adieu.
We have a statement, a line that Al usually.
Oh yes. Al
ends the show
if
with.
you will.
If you're a horror fan in the Bay Area, you know this statement.
Watch horror films. Keep America strong.
That's it. That is our
ladies and gentlemen, that is the Omega Man, Al Omega. Mr. Sexy Joe Flynn, look out, ladies, he's going to have an OnlyFans. The voice, Kevin Nicholson, and the mastermind, Anthony DeDrone. And this is your old buddy John. And I'll see you again next time on Behind the Feeds. Ooh, ooh.